things distinguish a man from the pack: his disposition to unprecedented situations and his ability to manage it to a logical end. The Lagos State Governor again showed his grit in responding and managing the Abule Ado explosion by releasing 250 million naira out of the 2 billion naira emergency relief fund he announced to provide instant relief for those affected by the explosion. Welcome to the Governor This Week. I am Lekan Onabanjo. Following the explosions that ripped through Abule Ado and Adoshoba towns in Amuodofin area of the state, the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu set up a high-profile committee to investigate the remote and immediate cause and announced a 2 billion naira emergency relief fund for the victims of the explosion. Governor Sanwo-Olu, who was accompanied by his deputy Obafemi Hamzat and members of the State Executive Council to the scene of the explosions, said the state government has released 250 million naira into the fund to provide instant relief for affected victims.
We want to first express the very condolences to our citizens that have lost their life and all our citizens that we can see that their property, their goods have been destroyed extensively. I will confess that I have never seen anything of this magnitude before. I mean, it's like a war zone. It is rather very unfortunate that as a people, they had to get to this for us to be able to make all the amends. Very immediately, it's for us to set up a fact-finding mission as into what are the remote and immediate cause of this incident. We're setting up a panel that will come here, will start work from today, and will need to give us a report in the next 2 weeks as into the reasons and the real cause of this huge loss of life and property. And just for you to know that it's a multi-government and multi-sectoral committee. That committee will be headed by my deputy, the Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Dr. Kadri Obafemi Hamzat. They will have not more than 2 weeks to do an extensive investigation as to what had brought about this catastrophe and what we need to do to be able to put in place process and procedures to ensure that this does not repeat itself again. So I have set up Abule Ado Soba Emergency Relief Fund. I have set that up, and it's a 2 billion naira relief fund. And the state government will immediately be putting 250 million naira in that fund. And overnight, I have gotten 3 banks to open accounts for that fund. And what are we trying to achieve? This is certainly beyond what the state government can undertake on its own. This is beyond what the government, be it at the national or state, can also overtake at its own. So I'm aware that some of my fellow governors have called, and I've received phone calls from the private sector. And so what this fund will do is to give everybody the opportunity to be part of it and to be able to donate into it. Of course, the utilization of this fund, which will also be headed by the Deputy Governor, will also be part of the responsibility that the committee will be saddled with.
Governor Sanwo-Olu later in the week met with President Muhammadu Buhari to brief him on the incidents and the impact on the socio-economic well-being of the victims of the explosion. The Lagos State government during the week set up a high-powered investigative panel to unravel the cause of the unfortunate gas explosion that rocked some parts of the state. The panel, headed by the Deputy Governor Obafemi Hamzat, and has as members some state council executives and critical stakeholders in the field of emergency response, environment and other related professional sectors, is a direct response of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu to addressing the hazard that followed the explosion and is expected to bring back its report in 2 weeks. The Lagos State Governor revealed this while briefing State House correspondents after he had a closed-door meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari in the Aso Rock Villa, briefing him on the extent of damage caused by the explosions.
I had a very rare opportunity to brief Mr. President about the very unfortunate gas-stroke pipeline explosion in Lagos yesterday. Mr. President was very gracious to receive me and to ask me about where we are and what has happened. I was able to show him pictorially the extent and the level of destruction of what happened yesterday. It was extremely very unfortunate incident. It's not something anybody could have imagined or could have pictured. You need to see it. You needed to be there to see the level of destruction. I was there earlier this morning, right, where I had to commiserate with the families of the loved ones, people that have lost their loved ones, and also the entire neighborhood. It was like a war-torn incident, very unfortunate. I was able to show him pictorially the extent and the level of destruction of what happened yesterday. It was extremely very unfortunate incident. It's not something anybody could have imagined or could have pictured. You need to see it. You needed to be there to see the level of destruction. So I've set up a very high-powered committee or a panel headed by my deputy, the Deputy Governor of Lagos State, and also co-chair by the Honorable Commissioner for Special Duties. The Commissioner for Special Duties, all of the agencies report to him. The other thing that we've also done, which that committee will also have responsibility for, is to set up a relief fund, an emergency relief fund. So I have asked the Deputy Governor to also lead, that fund. So it's called Abule Ado Emergency Relief Fund. And I did announce that overnight I've opened 3 bank accounts, one with Polaris Bank, one with Zenith Bank, and one with GT Bank, all in the name of Abule Ado Emergency Relief Fund. And it's for a 2 billion fund that we believe might not speak to all of the things, but at least it will begin to speak to all of the immediate challenges. And the state government immediately have instructed that 250 million naira should be set aside and put into that fund.
Delegates of the federal government, led by the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Ajia Sadiya Umar Farouk, and 2 corporate organizations on Wednesday visited the Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, to commiserate with him and the state on the recent explosions that rocked Abule Ado Shoba area of the state. Responding, Governor Sanwo-Olu thanked the federal government, particularly President Muhammadu Buhari, for granting him audience in the wake of the disaster.
May the souls of the departed rest in peace, and may our efforts to prevent such occurrences really be achieved. Today, Your Excellency, I'm also here to follow up on the spot assessment and to further visit the site, which I did together with His Excellency, the Deputy Governor and members of your cabinet, to see for myself really the extent of damage and destruction as a result of this explosion. I would really like to use this opportunity to commend the government of Lagos State, who has promptly responded to this hazard in providing temporary relief really to this victims. I'm also aware that the state government's response has relied on a multi-stakeholder approach with key actors such as the National Emergency Management Agency, the Federal Fire Services, the state government agency, the Navy, the NNPC, the UBA, and all others who have really participated as first responders to this incident.
On behalf of our government in Lagos State, we want to thank you. We want to thank you for coming to show solidarity with our people. At times like this, all of us need to come together as a nation, right, and stand beside one another. And I think this has been shown by your good self and your ministry. And so on behalf of my colleagues and our entire population, I want to thank you for taking out time and for coming speedily to come and have a look and have a first-hand assessment. I'm happy that you've taken a first assessment of the site and you've seen a level of damage and destruction, not only to life but also to property. It's rather very unfortunate. It's something that nobody would ever wish for, but as a people, we certainly must be able to put it behind us and learn from the lessons and move on from it. And so that's why, as a government, we have set in motion a multi-agency committee, which also has some organs of the federal government. We actually mentioned NEMA in that committee, and the NNPC, and the Nigerian Navy, and the Nigerian Police, and the Nigerian Army, so that it is multi-sectoral and it cuts across everybody that is a stakeholder at that level. Your Honorable Minister, you also thank all of the first responders. I think we cannot thank them enough. We'll continue to thank them because it's very important that when disasters like this happen, that people who have saddled with those responsibilities leave very quickly to those responsibilities. So I want to thank them again, and I'm sure that they're still working at that site. So what we have started, which you've seen, is that the committee has gone to work very quickly, and I imagine, without preempting what will be the outcome, that they will be able to not only advise us as a government, but the reports coming out of it will also be passed on to your office, just so that it can form a deeper review into the root and remote causes of this, and what all of us need to do differently to ensure that we can put events and incidents like this behind us. Like you rightly said, there are some formative industrial exercise that you are doing, and we want to assure you that we will share all relevant information with you that will make that exercise fruitful, and it would be to the benefit of our citizens. And once we do the full enumeration coming out from the committee, everything will also be shared, with you. But whilst that is going on, it's important that we very quickly begin to see how we begin to bring some normalcy back to the citizens, and that's why all of the offers you have given to us, we will look at it very carefully and see what temporary accommodation can be provided for the displaced people. More importantly is to, after search and rescue, which I think that we're completing today, is to go into clearance. The clearing of a place needs to be done methodologically and systematically. There's a lot of buildings that have to go down, right? So we're bringing a lot of heavy-duty equipment that, if they are not there right now, to see how we need to bring down those structures that are not fit for human habitat again. So all of that are the very difficult decisions that needs to be made, and enumeration is going on, right? There's a human enumeration, there's also the property enumeration to determine, who is what and what is where, and be able to see how we very well ameliorate the suffering, of our people. But it's also to
give us the opportunity to do a full fiscal planning and urban regeneration of the entire neighborhood and the entire population there. And that's why all of us must work very quickly and see, because life cannot halt, it cannot stop, it will continue to move. We have to work together and see that whatever support that is coming from your office, from your agencies, let it come, as soon as possible.
We thought it would be proper that we also express our sympathies about what has happened, the destruction that have taken place in Iladu. And therefore, we have been directed by our group president to inform you that the Dangote Cement PLC will be prepared to support the Lagos State government for the reconstruction of houses and the schools with a sum of about 100 million naira worth of cement that will be provided for the reconstruction.
Coincidentally, also spoke with the group chairman this morning, who had also assured me that the group and himself will continue to support us. And he had assured me that even beyond what we're currently having, that even just for us to look at the entire, economic indices and to see what kind of alleviation we can bring to our people, what kind of succor we can give to our people, on a general note. We want to, on behalf of the Lagos State government, continue to thank your company, both at the group level and also at the cement, for the strategic role you have not only in the state but in the country as a whole, and to continue to wish the company the very, very best, of endeavors with the stakeholders and shareholders. We are stakeholders, because we all, are users and observers of everything around you. But pretty much importantly is also around the very unfortunate, tragic incident that happened at Abule Ado on Sunday. We take very seriously your level of support, because there's a lot of reconstruction and redevelopment that needs to happen in that part of the state.
Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu made a surprise appearance at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport on Tuesday to personally assess how the response team stationed at the Lagos Air border screen inbound passengers for the coronavirus. At 3:30 p.m., the governor arrived at the airport in company of some members of the state's executive council. As the chief incident commander, Sanwo-Olu watched how passengers were being screened and possibly isolated if signs of illness is detected by the airport officials at the point of arrival. Afterwards, the governor was conducted round the testing stations and quarantine facilities built in the airport to manage travelers with infectious diseases. Expressing satisfaction with the response measures, Sanwo-Olu said his visit to the airport was necessary after the federal government triggered advanced vetting of air passengers.
We know that Lagos is the home to the biggest international border post of the country, right? 60 to 70% of international travel into the country coming from this border post, from this airport, and it's important for us as a state government to continue to be in partnership with the authorities and this facility, of course, headed by the acting managing director of FAN today. It's no longer news that we have a third index case, right? And even as we speak, there are tests that we're conducting on a few other suspected cases. So what it means is that we need to heighten our level of preparedness, our level of monitoring, and our level of engagement. So that's why we have left everything we're doing this afternoon to come in here to see things for ourselves. First, to encourage our teaming staff, both on the federal government side and on the Lagos State side, to encourage them and to understand and appreciate that it is a very, very difficult national assignment that they have, and that nothing must be put to chance. We've had several unconfirmed information as into how people are doing cross-border movements to be able to beat some border patrol and some border entry and exit worldwide. Since we're still friendly and we're still accommodating international routes, we need to up our gears. We need to be firm. We need to be very decisive on how we'll also do those collaborations. So really it's for us to come in, do a walkthrough, encourage our staff, be sure that we're not leaving our eye on anything, be sure that we're not dropping our guards on anything. Everybody, and I mean everybody, that goes through your post must be properly screened. Nobody is an exception. So it's really to give you that assurance that government is supporting it. It's not a case of I know this person, or this person is above board, or this is a VVIP. For as long as they are coming, we believe that everybody must subject themselves to the rules and to the regulation. And we also don't want to make it a stigmatization. So it's not some people against some people, everybody. Everybody, it's been shown that this thing knows no color, he knows no race, he knows no tribe. And so nobody must be spared. And even in the private borderlines, we must ensure that everything is done. Everybody that has to terminate an international route into this corridor must go through the rules and engagement of the game. Because as a government, we will not leave everything to chance. It's such an important aspect of our work, and we just want to come here to commend you, to thank you thus far, but to reassure ourselves that we're not dropping the guards. And that's why we've come here this afternoon to work with you. Thank you very much.
All tertiary institutions in Lagos State are to be shut down with immediate effect. The order was given on Friday by Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu during a live broadcast on the coronavirus update in the state. The governor, who is the incident commander on the coronavirus, also announced proscription of large assemblage of people in any form to halt the spread of the disease.
As you all know, these are trying times for our national and municipal leaders all around the world. Since December last year, the coronavirus has impacted every part of the world. The impact has been enormous on households, on various healthcare systems. It's shown a great impact on the global supply chain and on the global economy. On February 27, 2020, Nigeria recorded its first case of the COVID-19 disease, an Italian who landed in Lagos from Istanbul. But we're also extremely prepared and capable of containing the threat that the COVID-19 represents. Our biosecurity isolation facility at the mainland infectious disease hospital Yaba is equipped and able to contain the disease. As the Chief Incident Commander of Lagos State, it is my duty to update you regularly on this disease and on the steps we are taking in Lagos State, working in collaboration, of course, with the Federal Ministry of Health, the National Center for Disease Control, and other partners, including the WHO and UNICEF. The WHO named one key reason for the rapid spread, which is the alarming level of inaction globally. Here in Lagos, we have also taken COVID-19 with the utmost seriousness. For example, in Lagos, we inaugurated an incident command center 4 weeks before the first index case was recorded. In fact, the WHO praised our efforts in Lagos as an example to emulate. These are steps we're taking in Lagos to ensure that we prevent the spread of this disease. Following our extensive consultation with our various religious leaders, we have directed immediately the suspension of gathering of not more than 50 persons. We have also, following due consultation, announced the closure of all our public and primary schools in Lagos State with effect from Monday, the 23rd of March 2020. All our tertiary institutions are hereby also directed to shut down immediately. You will agree with me that these times call for us to act responsibly and abstain from any large outing or gathering of any kind, be it an academic gathering, be it a family gathering, be it a professional gathering, be it a political gathering, be it a religious gathering, or even a social gathering for that matter. Meaning that gatherings around our various event centers, clubs, both day club, night clubs, bars, and etc. are also affected by this directive. The virus can spread through any large assemblage of people or gathering. To protect and save lives, law enforcement agencies, especially the Nigerian Police Force, have been directed to ensure compliance with the directive against any assemblage of large number of people at any location in Lagos. Lagosians should, in the interest of all of us, ensure regular observance of all preventive measures being widely circulated by both the state and the federal ministries of health. These measures are the following. Residents should observe high standards of personal hygiene and practice social distancing. If you feel sick, consult a doctor and stay indoors. If you have just returned from any of the countries with the COVID-19 cases, you should isolate yourself for at least 14 days. Everyone should be vigilant and report suspected cases of the disease to the nearest medical facility. The telephone number provided by our Ministry of Health is 08000 Corona, which is 08000 Corona, or 08000 267 662. And I'm sure this number is available round the clock.
In the wake of the global coronavirus pandemic, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has said his government remains committed towards providing systems that fight the ravaging disease to a standstill. He said the state government would not hesitate to make resources available to enhance the level of preparedness in ending the scourge. And that's it on the governor this week, but then you can continue with conversations of the governor's activities on all the social media platforms sharing on your screen. See you next week. I am Lekan Onabanjo.